Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with an Investor. This one has been in the pipeline for a long time. I touched upon it in a few of the podcasts, and it's been widely requested that I give my thoughts on the current situation that we find ourselves in with Airbnb, or more specifically, the short-term letting sector in Scotland. For those of you that aren't up to date with what's happening, there's been a legislation that's to be passed by the Scottish Government where they are implementing some rules and extending their power to have more of an impact into the sector. And it's caused a bit of an uproar. Now, what happens when you see situations like this is most people don't understand how the government operates in the United Kingdom and where Scotland fits into that. And it's probably a topic for another video. But to keep it simple, essentially, the government in Scotland has certain powers that they can institute some rules if they don't get any resistance from the population. And the short-term letting licence has had serious pushback, and we want to dive into has that got merit and why people are pushing back. Now, I'd like to cast your mind back to prior to March 2020. Most people would give the government the benefit of the doubt, and there was a lot of rules that were brought in that were fairly questionable in terms of their effectiveness and what the government suggested that they could do, and they have caused havoc in Scotland as a whole in various different sectors. They've affected essentially the normal, man, woman and child, and not for the better. The Scottish Government has been caught up in some embarrassing situations in terms of how they've operated, some of the rules that they've instituted, some of the things that they've got up to. Now, it's not to criticise them. People are human and they make mistakes, but the combination of making mistakes and then, not being accountable for them and also creating the rules that have caused those mistakes is a recipe for disaster, especially if you want people to believe that you are the power or authority to run a country. So let's go over what the licensing covers. So Scottish licensing is to allow the government, and particularly at council level, to decide if a property should be allowed to be licensed. And they carried out a consultation where they found out essentially what the lay of the land was in terms of the sector, how many properties were listed, what areas they were in, what type of people came to stay there, and generally what the impact was. And for the report, it was put together in such a fashion that it would give you a snapshot of what was going on. And in that report, having read through it, it's 50 pages.